to Christiana's Psychic Cafe. Our topic today, tarot and kindness. What you'll see next is a series of 3 videos featuring Donnaleigh de LaRose and interviews with Anita, Perez and Linda Armstrong. Let's get started.
Christiana and friends, this is Donnaleigh, and I have a little something to bring to you that you can do with tarot, something you can do in your own spare time, and something that I hope will bring a little bit of good to the world. Now, recently Teresa Reed had a really neat activity. It was called the Kindness Hustle, and what it did is it put into my mailbox each day one little tidbit that you could do for people. It really had nothing to do with tarot, but it had to do with making the world better each day. A little prompt in my email box that said, try this or try doing that. A little one thing you could focus on each day to spread kindness into the world. And I really enjoyed that. And you can participate too if you want on her website, The Tarot Lady. You just scroll way down to the bottom and you will see the Kindness Hustle in the corner. And you click on that, and any donation you make to it, she gets none of it. She gives it all to this really neat website for kids. It's called Pieces of Lifestyle, and it goes to help prevent violence and give positive interactions for kids. So it all goes to a good cause as well. So here's what I did is after I was done with the Kindness Hustle, and I really enjoyed each day looking forward to doing a little something to make the world better, and when it was over, I was kind of wishing for a little bit more. So guess what I did? I took out my tarot deck, and I have 2 tarot decks here. One is the Steel Wizard by Pamela Steele, and the other is just a large version of the Rider-Waite. And you can draw a card each day, or you might even want to draw one a week, and the card can give you a prompt of something that you can do to make the world a better place. And don't we all want to do that? So I'm going to give you some examples. Anything that the card does, anywhere it brings you, any prompt that it brings to your mind is where you are supposed to go. It may not be the traditional meaning of the card, but it can help you get to a better place of kindness. So here I have the 6 of Cups. And basically when I see this, I think, okay, now who have I not contacted in some time? Whether it's someone from my childhood, I might want to look up on Facebook, or someone that is from my family where I used to live. Maybe I can search for somebody, but just basically try and bring someone from my past into my now and make a little smile for them. You might even want to give a little gift to someone because he's giving a little gift to her. Maybe even just one flower blossom. Leave a little gift on a co-worker's desk, or send it to someone that doesn't expect it. Maybe even do it anonymously and just say thanks for making a difference in my life. So that's one example. When I saw this particular one, I thought of fruits growing on a tree, so my first thought was, I'm going to go out and buy a few apples. So I did. I bought a little bag of apples, just a little peck of apples, and I stuck a little note with each one, a little note card that I folded in half with the person's name in the front, and when you opened it up on the inside, it just said a little something about like, thanks for making my day pleasant each day. Thanks for always stopping by to say hello, or you really make a difference in my life. Just a little something. You can leave it with a little apple or whatever. It doesn't cost much more than a few cents. Okay, so next I have the 8 of Pentacles, and the 8 of Pentacles was a lot of fun because I actually took a little note cards, the little thank you note cards. They actually come 8 in a pack, and I just sent them to different people. Thank you for this, thank you for that, and this I did to people at work, and I did sign my name on this one, but you don't have to, but just 8 something all the same, and I figured he was working hard, and all it takes is like 2 sentences in each card. You don't really have to make a lot of time out of it, and it does make a big difference to people. You can even say, I could send something to my son that could say, you work so hard, I'm so proud of you. Just a little something nice. That's really all it takes. So if there's a situation that you have that maybe it's harder to approach someone, you can do a little magic. So you can actually create a little altar or something and do something with candles, herbs, whatever it is you like that has an intent of kindness to improve some situation that might be going on. So sometimes acts of kindness can be quiet but significant, and you can do something like that. You can keep this card up all week long to remind you, so each day maybe you can do a little something different. Try and create some kindness prompt for yourself. for the world. I found this one a lot of fun because there's a lot of rude people on the road. Sometimes we forget there's people in those other cars. So let somebody in front of you. Let somebody through, let somebody go first, or here's a really fun thing. When you go through a toll booth, just pay $1 or a few cents, whatever it costs for the person behind you, and surprise them. Someone did this for me once, and it was probably the most fun dollar I'd ever had. I couldn't believe it. So I paid it forward at the next toll booth, and the next person did the same thing that I did as I sped to see who left the dollar for me to see if I knew them. And I didn't. They just waved and went on, and so I did the same to the next person, and maybe they passed it on too. So that's a fun thing to do. Something with a car, perhaps. Okay, so 5 of Pentacles. This is where you want to clear out your house maybe and take something you don't need, give it to Goodwill. So all that stuff that's no longer being used, no longer fits, give it to someone who could really use it. 5 of Pentacles is something you might want to give some food, some canned food, whatever it is, non-perishable. Leave them at a soup kitchen near your house, something that somebody can use, something that gives somebody a little respite. Similarly, someone in need. And suppose you collect something like tarot decks maybe. You can actually take something that you don't use, maybe a deck that's sitting there and hasn't been used in a while and you don't ever plan on using it, and donate it to somebody that's trying to learn or really wants to make use of learning the craft of tarot, or something else in your house, same thing, something that you no longer use, that you know someone that could use it, and pass it on to someone who might actually be able to have a change in the way they approach their life because of something you give them. The Empress is, I've been practicing knitting, and you can actually sew, but if you take little time knitting, what you can actually do is sew little knitted caps for a hospital near you that has a maternity ward, and they may be able to put them on the newborn babies. I have one that somebody knitted for me. I have no idea who knitted it, but I love it and I will never throw it away. It was on my son the day he was born. A couple other easy things. This is from the Steel Wizard Tarot, and this is actually, you can see a woman looking at herself. And even if you just spend the day approaching various people and telling them something beautiful about themselves, something that makes them unique, maybe it's something they're self-conscious about. I really, really like the way you wear your hair. You have the most beautiful eyes. I really appreciate that you're always so honest with me. It's just something about people that gives them a truth about themselves that may alter the way they see themselves. The Strength card here has her kind of coddling a dragon, and immediately I see animal rescue in that. And all you have to do, and my son and I did this, it's a lot of fun, go to a local animal shelter and say, hey, I want to take the dogs outside. We'll take any dogs you want and take them around for a little walk. And we've done that, take them out in the yard. We've even cleaned up the yard. Take the pooper scooper, we've gone out in the yard and done that. Or we've gone to the cat shelters and just sat and played with the cats and got them out of their cages for a little while. So this is all things that you can do that cost you nothing. If you want, you can leave a donation, or better yet, go with a little bag of food and leave that for them, or kitty litter, something like that. Just a little something they can use for the week for some of their animals. There you go, Maiden of Cups, and wouldn't you like to take her for tea? Isn't it time after work, maybe you invited a friend, say, hey, let's go out for a cup of tea together, a cup of coffee, just the two of us, just a half an hour, let's go out and do some catching up. This is a different version of the 8 of Pentacles that we saw before, and what we can do here is apprentice somebody. And so maybe take someone and say, hey, you know what, for 1 day a week, let's work together, and I'm going to teach you something I know. So whether it's a craft you know how to do, you can put up a YouTube video, you can write a little blog, you can actually take a person one-on-one, teach them tarot if you do tarot, but make someone better through their skills and by mentoring or apprenticing them at no cost. And lastly, I'm going to leave with an important one. We've got the 3 of Swords here and the Steel Wizard, and I really like this because it really shows how alone she is, and sometimes what we need when we're sad is really someone just to share space with. We don't want someone to make us feel better, but just someone to help us out. And it's often when people are in a time of crisis, like if they are sick or have cancer, or if they're not doing well, that's when people abandon them. So maybe find someone who either lost someone and feels alone, take them out for lunch, bring them a sandwich, stop by and say, hey, I was just thinking of you, and maybe bring them a little basket of teas or something like that with a little mug. Won't cost you more than a few dollars, and you can leave that for them. Sometimes if you don't have the extra money, just give their time, and that will be much more memorable sometimes than anything you can purchase for somebody. I hope that you can use this in your daily practice, even if you do it once a week. And what I would suggest is if you have a little business card holder, just stick your tarot card right in there, and you can look at it all week long, and it will help remind you perhaps of that week's challenge or your random act of tarot kindness. I hope you have fun with it. Thanks for letting me share this, Christiana, and thanks everybody. Have a wonderful week. I think I'm going to take my sister out. Maybe we can get a little makeup shopping done together.
Anita, it's so nice to have you back at Christiana's Psychic Cafe. How are you?
Oh, very well. And how are you?
I am great, and I'm so pleased that you stepped up so quickly to speak with us today. Our topic this week, of course, is tarot and kindness. And you have a story.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Many, many years ago, when dinosaurs still walked the earth, and I was I had a real good friend who lived in the dorm with me, and who witnessed many of my early readings when I was still learning. Not that I'm no longer learning. I mean, we're all always learning. But she witnessed many of my early readings. And many, many years later, well, we had lost touch with each other over the years. Many, many years later, we found each other on Facebook. And of course, some of the things that we talked about in those later conversations were the readings that I had given in the dorm to mutual friends of ours. So that's where tarot comes in. In any case, it turned out that she'd had a very full life and had done very well for herself and was living in San Diego. And over the couple of years since we had started talking again, she kept on saying, I'm going to have to fly you out to San Diego. So finally, one day she said, I'm serious. I want to fly you out to San Diego. And I was like, really? So she started making arrangements. I was actually having difficulty that someone would do something like this. I mean, it was just it's a very extravagant gesture. I live in Maine. That's not next door to San Diego.
Right,
you know.
right.
So, in the meanwhile, I became aware that this other friend of mine who lives in Olympia, Washington, was quite ill. And I had never actually physically met my friend in Washington, but very close, Skyping a lot. And I realized that she really didn't have that much time. It seemed like we probably would never meet unless drastic steps were taken quickly. So I told my friend in San Diego about this situation, and she made arrangements to not only fly me out to San Diego, but to then fly me to Seattle and to have a limo take me from San Diego to Olympia so that I could spend time with my friend.
Wow.
And then, of course, also made it possible for me to go home again.
And I'm a Facebook friend, of course, and I saw pictures of your trips, and I knew you were traveling.
Yes.
But I didn't know the story behind it. So you got to meet your online friend for the first time.
Yes.
And how was that?
It was amazing. It was amazing. And, of course, I did what I could for her. You know, I am a Reiki master and a Diksha blessing giver. So I did what I could, you know, and perhaps she has more time. We can hope, you know. I would, of course, love to see her again. And during my visit, I had many adventures. I went to a multi-tribe powwow
Oh,
on Squaxin Island and had a marvelous time. And I had a marvelous in San Diego too. I mean, San Diego was wonderful. It's so beautiful. I had never been to San Diego before. So, and I had never been to Olympia before. So it was two firsts, uh, three firsts actually, because I had never met my friend Lillian before. And it was really an amazing situation. And my friend in San Diego is an amazing person, and I'm so proud to be her friend.
that is that is really something. So let me ask you, just sort of thinking about the world, we've both been on the planet for a little while now. Do you think that there is more, less, or the same impetus to be kind and generous? I mean, the kind of kindness that you just experienced, sort of this generosity. And I mean, okay, in the case of your friend, there was some self-interest in the sense that she wanted to see,
Yes.
so that wasn't a totally selfless act because she got to have some time with you. But my question is, are people more kind now when we were young, or is it about the same? What is the kindness level on the planet right now from your perspective?
I think that when things are hard, there's more reason for people to be kind
Interesting.
because there will always be those who are a little bit more fortunate, a little bit less fortunate. And but it means so much more when times are hard. And when those who have give of themselves that freely, it's really very special because it tends to not be those who have the most who give the most, in my experience. It tends to be those who have the least that give what they can.
Right.
Because they know how it feels in a very immediate sense. In my experience.
No,
And
I think that's
people have different point of view, but in my experience, that has been the case. I'm very fortunate that my friend, who has done very well for herself, uh, is not one of these people. You know, I mean, she's a person who gives very freely without um, a whole lot of strings attached, but she's unusual.
Well, I think what you might be saying is that kindness and generosity are not necessarily connected with how much money we have in the bank.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And is there anything when we talk about kindness and tarot? Is there anything that you have learned either from the study of the cards, from a particular tarot card, or from being a reader that has taught you something about kindness?
Oh, I could spend hours. um, I think tarot is kind of like the philosopher's stone or the quest for the philosopher's stone, in that it changes you. While you learn and study, changes take place in your character and your spirit and your way of thinking. And it's it's a life-changing type of thing. I mean, I guess that doesn't happen to everyone, but I'd like to think that it does, at least to a small degree.
I think it does. When I'm in the position of teaching a group over time of taking them from being brand new to really working with the cards, they do change, and perhaps kindness is part of the change that takes place.
And something happens when you have a very intense reading with a reader. There's a kind of a bonding that takes place that, some readers say, oh, well, I try to remain detached so that I can maintain objectivity. I've come to the conclusion that there is no such thing as objectivity, that objectivity is an illusion. And perhaps it's just me, but I don't think so. I jump in with both feet. When somebody's getting a reading from me, I become their advocate, their friend. I care very deeply about the people that I read for. I can't seem to help it. But I think that also is one of the spiritual changes that takes place when you get involved with reading the cards a lot. It's almost like it opens this door in you where you get involved with and talk to and become the advocate for people that you would never ordinarily meet.
Of course.
It opens your scope and it opens you up.
Sure. I completely agree, and my experience is the same. So if someone would like to become a client of yours and experience some of that, how do they contact you?
Well, on Skype, I'm Luminaria Star, and I have a fan page on Facebook, also Luminaria Star. It's the easiest way to find me, and you can message me. Also, I have a personal page on Facebook, Anita Perez. Unfortunately, there are about 411 Anita Perezes, but if you go to Luminaria Star first, that would be easier because there's only one Luminaria Star.
And that would be you.
And that would be me.
Well, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to tell your story today and share a little bit of tarot kindness with us.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
Linda Armstrong, thanks for being on Christiana Psychic Cafe. How are you?
Great, thank you. It's nice to be here. I appreciate the invitation.
So we've known each other for a long time.
Yes, we have.
And we met under rainy tarot circumstances.
Yes, we did. A great day indeed in my life.
Indeed. And in fact, if I remember, it was a Beltane festival in Connecticut. So that's May. It's cold and it's rainy. And you came to the workshop I was teaching on tarot because it was under a tent and you wanted to be out of the rain.
Yeah, I was a rune reader, and you ruined me. You ruined me.
I ruined
you with
runes. You still do some runes, though, right?
I still, I do use runes, and actually, I've incorporated a lot of the rune work into palmistry. If you're a rune reader, you could notice that there could be runes in your hands. It's an interesting place to find runes, but it works as a form of divination for me, too.
That is so fascinating, and that's not even why I asked you to be here today. But I actually feel like I want to talk to you. But can we totally diverge from our topic and talk about this for just a quick moment?
Absolutely.
So if a person were to just sort of look at the palm of their hand, right, and they might see the shapes of particular runes.
Yes.
How would you interpret that? I mean, would that talk to me?
Okay, well, usually what it does, and it's funny, I usually end up making a big mess on a hand. All right? So you have if you go back into your typical palmistry, you have your head,
Mhm.
your heart,
Mhm.
and your life.
Right.
So based on where in your palm you see the runes, you can interpret the rune meaning as where it would appear in your in the palmistry. So for example, if you think of your hand as a tarot spread, past, present, future, and I'm not a traditional reader, although we've tried to learn, we do learn the traditional accepted values. It just kind of becomes a tool of divination. And it's funny, but closer to Beltane and to Samhain, and when I'm doing a lot more spiritual work, I've had a pentacle form in my hand, and people have look at your hand has a pentacle. So that's usually my first judge of where I am spiritually. But for example, it's a bad example, but I'll say if in your heart line you see somewhere a very straight line, so I'll like something like that, all right? Okay, that straight line. Isa in the rune world would mean ice, which usually signifies a delay. So if you're loved, there might be a delay or something that's holding up your love life or something that's going on.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that was it. Yeah, that was in the heart line, in your headline. So when you get to understand what the runes mean and where they fall on your hand, you could kind of draw and practice. On your Mound of Venus, for example, if you saw the rune that actually means like wealth, something like that, you could say, well, all right, there's maybe a matter of money in with your love or something like that.
I like it. Okay. Well, now everyone who's watching this is like looking at their hands and going to the rune book and drawing runes on their hands. That is good stuff. And I am certainly going to want to tap you again. We
Absolutely.
We should do a whole thing on
that.
This is good
And
stuff.
I'm sorry I wasn't even prepared. I was like, oh, I'm sitting here with the deck. So I was like, huh, runes, what? I get rather myopic sometimes, but that's good.
No, that's good stuff. But, what we're here to talk about is a really fun topic.
Yeah.
The topic is kindness. And obviously, we've come to the right place because clearly, when we look at the wall behind you, we see that kindness matters.
Right.
But, you have a really interesting path, an interesting journey, and you've offered to share your story. And why don't we start by having you tell us where you are right now?
Well, I'm in the offices of Dress for Success Luzerne County in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. Dress for Success strives to promote the economic independence of disadvantaged women by providing career-appropriate attire, a network of support, and career development tools that she needs to thrive in work and in life. So this is actually our career center that our women are welcome to come in and update their resumes, conduct job searches, and just keep abreast of what they could do in the job market. You don't see the rest of my agency, which consists of a training room where we do a lot of development work, and beyond that is a pretty high-end clothing boutique that is really a great thing. Our women come in, we help prepare them for job interviews, and we did that. We put the clothes in the back of the shop so that people don't see us as a used clothing program, but more job development and training, because it's kind of like The Secret. We want to put it out there like this to the universe. Is we do job training. We don't just provide clothing, we change lives. So that's what I do now for my loving.
Wow. So, and there's a couple of pieces to this that I know I want you to talk about, and there may be some others too. But when I first met you, you worked on Wall Street.
Yeah, I'm a recovering Wall Street Republican dragon lady, actually. I spent 30 years building and developing a career in the financial services industry, making crazy, wonderful money. I'm going to say there was always a kindness to me. I first encountered Dress for Success in like 1997, 1998. I was one of the first volunteers they had. So I was fortunate then that I was able to direct a good deal of corporate money to do more philanthropic work, and where I was in my life was more, so I was on the other end of the not-for-profit type of world. I was in the more giving arena as opposed to, needing arena now.
Now you're in the needing arena?
Big time, really needing. And I guess what a lot of people don't particularly know, well, and if you've been around me in the last 2 years, almost 3 years, you'll know that I took a retirement when I was 45, and I left my career and I moved back to my home in West Pittston, Pennsylvania. And September 2011, it was destroyed in a flood. And this great family home and the center of my family was pretty much destroyed. And so in rebuilding it, it cost me a lot more to rebuild it than it cost me to buy it from my mother's estate. And so all that great Wall Street money is pretty much gone. And, but Goddess has been providing in a lot of different ways, so I'm still grateful. And I've probably never been happier in my life and more involved in the community and out there. So it's a good thing.
So are you saying that you have less money in your bank account now than perhaps ever before?
Well, Christiana, I asked you that when we were done with this. We're going to work a spell on how to stay my house out of foreclosure. So, yeah, what's left of it. We're negotiating. I still have my powers of negotiation, but actually we've done quite well with my agency. I'm actually able to garner a salary now, which in the first 2-3 years of a not-for-profit is pretty decent thing that, we're sustaining, and I could get a salary. But I do draw more of my joy from doing for the community. And Goddess does provide.
Right.
It's not, Goddess does provide. And, you always said, and I agree, that any self-respecting witch should be able to buy herself lunch. And I've changed the focus of what I buy and what I do and what I am. And, and I want to, give you a dirty hand signal for that, because sometimes I would have loved to still have my big salary, but now I have a bigger heart and a bigger soul. So I'm, and I always knew, even when I was on Wall Street, I was a single mother, recovering alcoholic, addict, blah, 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 survivor of domestic abuse. And I always knew that if I could maintain that life, if my daughter had a passport with multiple stamps on it, 2 vacations a year, a beautiful home, all the material things we needed, if I was able to do that, other women could do that. And I always knew that it was my job to show other women that, hey, if I could, get knocked down so hard but still come out, we could do this. And let me show you how. And that's when I jumped out of the, the driver's seat, and now I want to show people how. Like look at this, do this, try this, and let's work. Let's get you in that condition. So I do a lot of work with youth groups and women at risk and girls at risk, and yeah, it's absolutely rewarding, and it's the payoff's there. Goddess gave me a wonderful man in my life, who does great things and who won't let me suffer, except when I need to.
So now, I remember when I first met you and you were working on Wall Street, you had talked about Dress for Success.
Yes.
And we did a few with Tarot Circle in the Poconos. We did a few different fundraisers, and you always came and participated. And I always knew you as a charitable person.
Right.
But when we talk about Luzerne County Dress for Success, they were non-existent until you created.
Right. I'm founder and executive director, and I used then my big pension and 401k and the monies I hauled out of New York with to start my agency. I guess I put up the first, about $20,000 out of my own pocket. And, I paid the rent for a year, and I lived without a salary for a couple of years. And, that was the seed. That the great sums of money never bought me real happiness, but I did find, I think like sometimes like I'm crazy that I did that, but I don't know who rationally and who in their right mind would open a not-for-profit agency in the worst economy on the planet, but we're a success. That's all I could say. It was a lot of work, praying, magic, and crying, but we enjoy a really good relationship in our community with the community. And good news is we may be branching out into the southern end of our county and opening a new office.
Oh,
and
goodness.
Yeah, because I say this is my retirement job, but I don't know how to retire. I say that after that flood, when FEMA gave me the check, I should have bought an RV and took off to Florida near you.
You think?
Yeah, I could open a tarot and rune reading establishment in an RV. But this is where I'm at now, and it's a good thing.
Well, it certainly is. And you said something there, and I don't know if you really meant to say this or not, but I'm going to reflect it back to you and such a thing. Kindness, creating, you did a real kindness, not for a specific person, but for many, many, many people. And in doing so, you changed your life. You created a new lifestyle for yourself. You created a job for yourself. That was cool. But I assume you're not hauling down the kind of bucks you were when you're on Wall Street, I would assume. But
it's funny. Thank God for Obamacare. I actually have health insurance for the first time in 4 years, and
Republican.
I look, I haven't changed it on my card yet, but I've changed it in my heart.
And we're going to talk about that in a moment too. But the thing that you said that is just resonating within me is that kindness isn't necessarily logical. That the logical thing for you to have done might have been something different. Can you expound on that a little bit?
Well, that flood hit, I was 50, single. That was supposed to be my retirement home and my security, and it was destroyed. And with everything I had left, I fought to save it. And that's when I realized the power of what I was doing in the community, in that people came to my aid, and people that I had met because of opening my agency really rallied to support me, and people from all walks of life, all political statements. My best friend is evangelical Christian, and she's the board president, and her family came to my home and buried me out of mud and teased me and made me laugh again and cried with me and adopted my dog, and it just really did for me what I couldn't do for myself. So logically speaking, I probably should have just, taken care of myself. But I've never been able, not that I've never been able to take care of myself, because I certainly have been, but I think the way I take care of myself is focusing more on caring for other people, because in that flood, in that destruction, I was able to write checks, to rebuild, to continue feeding myself. And I say, oh, I was homeless and I was this and I was that. But the truth of the matter is, a dear friend of my mother's who passed years ago, I showed up at her door and stayed for 7 months, and was given the best room in the house and 2 hot meals a day, and just comfort and love, and so I was fostered at a really nice place. And my only fight there was, like, she wanted to change my bed and iron my sheets, and I told her, Aunt Mary, if my mother knew that, she's going to grab me from the grave and torture me. So I think that the fact that I realized that as bad as I thought I had it, there were people still out there, much more. And my wake-up call was, I was in the other off before we moved to this location. I was in the first location we had, and I was on the phone screaming at a carpenter or somebody that, you don't get it, I'm homeless, I have no house, I'm this, I'm that. And 2 homeless women that were clients came in and hugged me and said they felt bad for me. And I said, well, if that didn't just eat my lunch, you know what? I've got absolutely nothing to complain about. And when I stopped wearing that flood on my, I don't even say the word. I call that the F word now. So when I stopped being like, oh, the Miss Flood victim of the decade, and I just realized that, you know what, I still have it better than most people. And, this year, I was funny. I just filed my income tax. I'm very proud to say that this year I made $14,900 and change dollars. $14,000. I used to make a heck of a lot more than that. Wow. Maybe, 10 times that.
Sure.
And one of my smaller years, my bonuses used to be 3 times that, and still yet I owe the government money. I don't know. How does the government want $1,000 from somebody who didn't even bring $14,000 home? We'll see. So we'll work to change that next.
Yeah, so let's talk politics. So I used to, here's the thing. One thing I have come to understand, in our very divided society, that most Republicans are not trying to find ways to plant a doomsday device in a city, and most Democrats are not really stupid pot-smoking hippies.
Right.
There are stereotypes on both sides.
Right.
But most people want what's best for the country. Really. Most people want what's best. Right. Most people are kind. Most people would give you a meal if you were down and out. Isn't that true?
Yeah, but I think a lot of people, or many people, can easily get in that mob mentality that they need to vilify somebody or something. And it's very oftentimes, and I see Facebook posts of, and I've ended friendships with people who, I don't know that I was one of them, but when the woman in the grocery store pulls out the access card or the food stamp card, and it may be near a cell phone, they want to burn her in effigy,
right.
There's welfare abuse. That's wrong. She has a better iPhone than I have. Who is she with that? Who is she to have food stamps? Look at me. I've got coupons, and what is she buying? And who are you to decide that? Like, best friends of mine want to, carry on about affordable health care. And I'm like, this is the first time in 4 years that I've been able to have, you too, Christiana, I get it, and at a family dinner, a cousin of mine goes, well, I'm paying for it. I said, dude, I paid more than my share in my lifetime. I'm not looking to get over on anybody. I just want to know that if I show up with a heart attack or with cancer or something, that somebody is going to, that I'm not going to be pushed out on a gurney into the street and say later,
And I think when we talk about the Affordable Health Care Act, a lot of what it did is it changed abuses that were in the system. The one that I think is so very important is the pre-existing condition.
Oh, absolutely.
What do you mean that we can't be insured because we're already sick?
Yeah,
we need that health care.
Absolutely.
And people were getting rich off of the suffering of others. And maybe that's where Republicans really are evil, because in my mind, that's wrong.
Well, I have a friend who moved from here, and she lives in another state now, and her husband's health insurance got really expensive, and he's at a job and in a union. So I'm thinking, well, what's your union doing if they're not watching your health care bill? And she's carrying on about a shot. I guess she has rheumatoid arthritis, and a shot she now gets is going to cost her over $2,000 a month. So she's screaming like, oh yeah, death to Obama. And I'm thinking, well, what about your drug company? Why do you think your drug company should be allowed? Your drug company that's reporting zillions of dollars in profit. Why is your drug company allowed to charge you $2,500 for a shot that's helped keeping you alive? Why? I mean, it's not an orphan drug. There's no research now involved in it. And quite frankly, how much is enough? How much, okay, it's a publicly traded company. Their shareholders want profit, but profit at what expense? And that's it. I'd much rather invest my few dollars left in a drug company that would say, look, you know what? We found the cure for this. We've done this. We've done that. Let's let it run. And you know what? It happens to be based on salt and magnolias. Great. Kumbaya. Let's cure the world. And I would invest in that company, as opposed to knowing that a company is charging somebody $2,500 a month for a shot that they need to be able to get out of bed.
Well, and I think, you've got a good point there in our need to vilify, whether we're vilifying the Democrats, the Republicans, Obama, right, whoever. Maybe no one's the villain here. Maybe everyone is trying to do the right thing. Now, but then again, what about the people who get rich off of human suffering? Are they also trying to do the right thing? Maybe they think they are. I don't know.
We can't judge what's in anybody's heart, but I do know that, it's bizarrely often people who claim to be, like I remember somebody talking about, it was a discussion on somebody getting a job and needed to get who needed a drug test before they were hired. And, well, how come welfare recipients don't get tested? Number one, they do. Mm-hmm. Number two, what I don't know if the world understands that there are no more cash welfare payments being made to people without dependent children. Right. How there were not riots in the street is beyond me. Mm-hmm. So if as a single adult with no children, you walked into a county assistance office or the welfare department and said, hey, listen, I need blah, blah, blah. Or if you were on it for 20 years, they were like, hey, guess what? Bam, no more. Right. Go get a job. Nobody understands that. So people want to see, the 4 or 5 cases in the world of welfare abuse and welfare fraud. Oh, that has to be, that's everybody now. It's those people. It's those people on welfare doing it. It's those people. Certainly not me. Well, you might have cheated on your taxes. You might have stolen something, or so don't be so quick to point your finger that it's those people, because those people have children.
You think that there is a sense of entitlement or a sense of laziness, that there are people who believe that those who receive welfare or those who get help for their kids are operating with a sense of entitlement or are abusing the system?
I think that's the knee gut reaction that a lot of people have. And I had it too. I'm like, well, I just did a seminar with Pennsylvania's Career Link on how to navigate a job fair. I was up yesterday morning I was at a job fair, a big job fair, and did the morning news show. And I did this seminar on how to navigate a job fair. And I bought actually a man's suit because I only deal with women's clothing. But I went to Volunteers of America and bought a man's jacket, shirt, pants, tie, and a pair of Stride Right shoes, a really good man's brand shoe. And I spent $10.95 on the entire outfit.
Nice.
And yeah, it was great. And I brought this around with me. And I'm sorry, they were Florsheim shoes. And the bottom of the shoe, it said $3.99. I went on half price Tuesday, so I got them for, I think they gave them to me for $1. And they're $100, $200 shoes, brand new. So this one guy was like, well, I don't even have that money to buy that. And I was like, do you have a pack of cigarettes in your hand, in your pocket? He goes, yeah. I said, shut up. Argument lost.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know that there's often a sense of entitlement on somebody. And I'm not going to clunk everybody together, but I do know that sometimes it's not knowing the better way, that there is, that this guy didn't know that he could go do this for $11. And until somebody said, but if you bought cigarettes for $11, you can buy this suit that can get you a job for $11.
And then you can buy more cigarettes.
And then you can buy all the cigarettes you want. You don't have to buy the cheap generic ones. And that, then he went, oh. And, but it's funny. It's not only economically, it's also generation, a generational distinction. That I've worked with women who, I always call it, I may be a big-hearted person, but I'm still a tough nut. And I was working with a group, and they knew what I did, and they knew I was going to give them clothes. And this one girl stood up and got all tough with me. She goes, so if I come to you, are you going to make me take out my facial piercings? Like, I'm not going to make you do anything, but I'm also not going to give you a welfare check. Well, what do you mean? I said, what are you going to do for a living? You with the 2 nose rings, they do those things. She had these things all over and tattooed face. And I said, unless you think you're Kat Von D, and if you were and that talented, you wouldn't be sitting here. So, yeah, get the piercings out. Let's cover up the ink. And then what I tell them is, you don't know. I said, what if I told you I rode a motorcycle more powerful than most men would dare to ride? And what if I told you I was covered in tattoos? Would you believe it? And they're like, no. So, well, it's true. I am. And you don't know it because it's really none of your business. And in business, it's none of your business. So because I do this, I do that really well and have a ball at it. And I show them vacation pictures of me and my motorcycle and having a great time and what I look like as a biker. And they're like, okay. So I'm not asking you to change everything about you. I'm just asking you to, build some credibility, and I want to show you how to do it.
Yeah, there you go. So we're coming to the end of our time together, and I want to, first of all, invite you to come back. There's so much more we can talk about, so I hope we'll see you again here at the Psychic Cafe.
Anytime.
I you and I have both been sort of sitting here shuffling our cards. So why don't we do this? Why don't we work with all of the energies of the people who are watching and participating in bringing a level of prosperity and recovery to your home,
Okay.
and of course to your agency. And let's do that. Let's do that first of all with a divination. Let's each pull a card. And the question is simply, what do we need to know or do to create the necessary flow for you? So we'll each pull one question to add one card to answer that question. Okay.
I got the Hangman.
Did you? I got the Hierophant. So we both got Major Arcana cards.
Okay.
So what does the Hanged Man tell you that you need to do?
Keep working it. It works if you work it. Then
Right.
just like, 12-step. It works if you work it. It works if you work it. And
the Hierophant, know your own authority here. Use your authority. Talk to the people in authority.
right. Yeah.
Okay.
I cheated though. The first 3 cards I picked I didn't like, so I stuck them in the.
So now let's go to the magical portion of our program.
Ooh, my favorite.
If you go through your deck, what you want to do is find the cards that speak to what it is that you need in your life. For instance, my motorcycle friend, you need the sun, because isn't that not the card of the motorcycle, especially along with the chariot?
The winter we had.
Absolutely.
Northeastern Pennsylvania is not the place you wanted to be living this year.
You need the Ten of Pentacles as the real estate card.
Pulled that out already.
Okay.
Originally it came out in reverse, but I'm not gonna ignore. I'm gonna ignore the reversal today.
Sure. And I would say that you need the Empress for all the women and especially mothers that you serve in your agency.
92% of my women are single mothers.
Yeah, I'm so not surprised. We need Justice to make sure everything flows well on a legal level.
Yeah, I got that before. Again, in reversal, I ignored the reversal. Hold on, you're going way fast.
I am going way fast. I always go way fast.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'm going to let you do it then.
And the one I'm looking for and didn't find was the Eight of Wands. I wanted the Eight of Wands for clear communication and swift motion. So those are the cards I've chosen. Are there other cards that I've given you a chance to choose, even though I didn't give you much of a chance?
I'm hung up that I keep seeing Justice in reverse, and I have to nail it to the wall correctly.
Justice in reversed offers the opportunity, and let's talk about that, because you saw 2 of the cards that I chose, you saw in reverse, and even though you turned it right side up, it freaked you out.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that for a moment. This is a great teachable moment. 10 of Pentacles, Justice in reverse, and yeah, those would be the 2 cards together that deal with foreclosure.
Yeah.
In their reversal, though, I think there's a lot of opportunity to look at it as undecided, unwritten. We don't know what's going to happen, and that is the truth. You don't know which way this is going to go. You still have the opportunity to turn it right side up. So turning it right side up magically was exactly the right thing to do.
Yay!
Yay! Absolutely. Any other cards that you see there?
Actually, you know what, Christiana, in my life too? I want to go 10 of Cups.
I think that's a good call. Absolutely. And that is, 10 of Cups is really the lesson here today, is kindness matters, money doesn't buy happiness. And we do need resources to live, and we need to help each other out with that.
Yeah, I'm with somebody now who just, he's in a kind of questionable profession here, and he works for a gas company. He's a fracker, my dear fracker, and he just talks about the wonderful stuff that I do, and that ultimately he says, look what you do. He goes, yeah, I do this, this, and this. He goes, but you help people, you save people, and it's funny. He was studying to be a Baptist minister. I know.
Wow. So how does he feel about being a fracker?
Well, the thing is, and this is where I believe he's very much an environmentalist. He follows EPA guidelines. He sets EPA guidelines. And if there had to be somebody doing that, I'm glad to know it's him, who's an expert at it, who cares about the earth. He is an environmentalist, and I knew that on our first date. It was great. We went to a state park, and we were sitting in a beautiful autumn wood, and he found these caterpillars, and we were looking at the caterpillar, and when he went to put it down, he put it down on the ground, and I was waiting for him to step on it, and he moved it to safety. And he said he was waiting for me to step on it, and neither of us did, and we looked at each other, and we both knew at that moment, it was more than the caterpillar, but we both knew that, yeah, okay, we're meant to be, and it's been every day, it's been amazing since.
You both honor life and recognize that kindness is not just about humans.
Exactly. It's,
yeah.
Yeah, so look, I don't, there's another questionable corporation's name on my wall, and you know what? Right now they've got the money and they're help women. So
and I think that's the way it works. We are all interconnected. Maybe that's it. It's not about red and blue or left and right or even rich and poor. It's about how we're all connected, and that's what we have to remember, and that's the web of life.
That's actually, yeah.
There it is. Okay, so for your spell, you will take the cards that speak to you in this regard. Keep them out. The full moon Tuesday night is a lunar eclipse.
Oh, okay.
So take the cards out of your deck for Tuesday night and leave them on the windowsill inside in the light of the lunar eclipse.
Oh, okay.
To bring you what you need to have things run along nicely. And since you are a nonprofit organization, if anyone would like to make a donation, how do they do that?
No check is ever too big or no check is ever too small. So do remember that. And if you'd like to make your tax deductible donations, please feel free to do so at Dress for Success, Luzerne County, 38 West Market Street, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, 18701.
Okay. Linda Armstrong, we'll see you again. Thanks so much.
Excellent. Thank you, Christiana. Have a great day.
You too.